In this part, what I'm going to do is instead of using the actor's name that you guys may have created in Photoshop, we're going to use a text effect. So we're going to actually use the 3D text ability and have the actor's name actually spin towards us from an angle. So it's going to be sideways and then it's going to show up. But before we do that, what I want to do is just add that ship going by real fast after the logo vanishes. So we're going to bring in, at this point, right here in the timeline, one more instance of our ship. So we're going to grab our saucer and we're going to hit S on the keyboard to scale it down. And I want this guy to just come flying across the screen like it does on TV. So let's go ahead and hit P now. And we're going to move over a little bit, like so. And we're going to grab the ship and just have it flying by. Okay, so we have the logo, and then he flies by real fast. And right here, this part of the timeline, we're going to add text. So I'm going to save one more time. Press Command and Control S to save. Twirl everything closed. And I'm going to click on the first layer. And I'm going to add a text element now. So I'm going to go ahead and hit the T. And I'm going to hit right in my workspace. And that's the reason I wanted to click on the first layer, so I would make sure that it would go above it. And we're going to type starring William Awesome. Okay, so we have our type. I'm going to grab my selection tool and move it over here. And as you can see here, it's justified to the right. So I'm going to just go ahead and align it to the center by clicking right here. And I'm also going to manually just squash this down a little bit. I'm also going to change the font to something nice and thick. So let's see if I can find that Bank Gothic that I used before. Hopefully it's in here. Here we go, Bank Gothic. I'll scale it down just a little bit more like so. And let me go ahead and turn on my title safe so I can make sure that the text is where it should be, which is in the middle of these boundaries here. That's very important. Go ahead and turn that off now. And we're going to go ahead and enable the per character 3D option on this guy. So I'm going to twirl open the type layer. And I'm going to go to Animate, Enable Per Character 3D. And with this selected, what I want to do now is I'm going to animate the rotation. So what I think I have to do here is on the Y-axis. Let me just go ahead and double check. Yep, Y. I'm going to enable the stopwatch. And I'm going to go to the last frame of this guy here. And I'm going to have it showing like so. So I'm going to go to the first frame of the animation. And I'm going to turn it so that we can't really see the text like so. Just a little bit like that. And when I play it back, we see the animation. Let me go ahead and twirl all this closed and go back to my view as it was. And what we have to do now is, of course, as you know by now, is we have to take the text and we have to trim it so we don't see it. So I'm going to go ahead and grab the actor's name and I'm going to make sure that it only appears where we want it to. Now, of course, you could also, alternatively, if you like, you can do the same kind of thing by simply enabling the transparency property instead of having to grab these things and repositioning them or resizing them like I'm doing. But for now, this will work. And I'm going to just make sure that I have the animation show up. There we go. And I'm actually going to, as a matter of fact, twirl down the opacity property for this by hitting T. And I'm going to add a keyframe and make sure that the text is invisible until I want to see it. And I'm going to go to the end here, and I'm going to add, as I showed you before, by jiggling another keyframe so that it's invisible. And then it's going to zoom in, or rather fade in to 100%. And then we'll jiggle it a little bit so it stays there. And then we'll go to the end of the animation and fade out again. So let's go ahead and see what we have now. So this should be the finished comp. It's going to look epic. So we're going to go ahead now and we're going to hit the spacebar. All right, that looks pretty cool. Now, as you can see, we tried to stay with that 1960s flavor, but if you want to jazz it up, feel free to add a more modern spaceship or whatever you want to do. But hopefully you guys got the gist of taking a whole bunch of elements, a whole bunch of different assets, organizing them in the project panel, and then arranging them based on the audio that you have, or simply by using your eye and your timing. Then using the properties to animate opacity and position and scale and all kinds of good stuff. And even animating the text, adding a special effect like a glow and some snow. And that, my friends, is the conclusion of the Star Crash project. I hope you had a good time, and more importantly, I hope you really learned and grasped how to put together a simple comp inside of After Effects CS5.